The December wind whipped through the streets of Scranton, Pennsylvania, like a razor, a biting cold that sunk deep into your bones and lingered there. A heavy snow had been falling since dawn, blanketing the town in a pristine white, beautiful to see from a cozy window, but a death sentence to those with nowhere to go. Underneath the Main Street overpass, where the concrete offered a sliver of protection from the relentless wind, a small fire flickered in an old oil drum. Hank Thompson was 63 years old, his grey beard, untouched by a razor for months, framed eyes that had witnessed things no man should ever have to. He'd served 2 tours in Korea, earned a Purple Heart and a Silver Star, and returned home to a country that didn't quite know what to do with him. The nightmares cost him his marriage, the bottle cost him his job, and somewhere along the way he'd lost everything else too. Now, his home was a makeshift shelter under a bridge, and his most prized possession was a faded surplus army jacket, a relic that had kept him alive through 30 harsh winters on the streets. Before we go any further, if you believe in the power of kindness, in the possibility of second chances, and in standing up for what's right, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this remind us that heroes aren't always wearing capes. Sometimes they wear dog tags. Hank was carefully feeding scraps of wood into his fire when he heard it. The unmistakable sound of a motorcycle engine, sputtering and dying, somewhere close by. Then unsteady footsteps, slow and labored, crunching through the snow. A figure emerged from the darkness. A man in a leather vest covered in patches, his lips a telltale shade of blue, his entire body shaking uncontrollably. The biker had crashed his hog on a patch of black ice about a mile back. He'd walked as far as he could, before the cold started shutting down his system. Now he could barely feel his fingers, and his legs were starting to buckle. Hank didn't hesitate. He stood up, walked over to the stranger, and began taking off his army jacket. "Mister," the biker stammered, his teeth chattering. "What are you doing?" "You need this more than I do right now," Hank said, gently draping the jacket over the man's shoulders. "Get over by the fire. Warm up before you freeze to death out here." The biker tried to protest. "That's your jacket. I can't take it from you." Hank shook his head firmly. "Son, I've survived 30 winters. I can survive one more night. But you won't make it another hour in this cold. Now, stop arguing and get warm." He guided the biker to the fire and helped him sit down on an overturned crate. Then, Hank retreated into his cardboard shelter and emerged with a thermos. "It's just water," he said, "but it's warm. Been keeping it by the fire all day." The biker drank gratefully, his shivering slowly subsiding as the warmth seeped into his frozen limbs. He looked at Hank, his eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and something that might have been shame. "Why are you helping me?" he asked quietly. "You don't even know me, and I've got nothing to give you in return." Hank smiled, a weary smile that had seen too much pain to be anything but genuine. "Because 45 years ago, in a rice paddy halfway around the world, a man I didn't know carried me 3 miles through enemy territory when with a bullet in my leg. He didn't ask for anything either, said the only payment he wanted was for me to help the next person who needed it. Been trying to pay that debt ever since." The biker stared at him for a long moment. Then he extended his hand. "My name's Mike," he said. "Mike Harrison." "Hank," Samuel replied, shaking his hand. "Hank Thompson. Pleased to meet you." "Mike." Mike stayed by the fire until morning, when his brothers came looking for him. They wanted to take Hank with them, but he refused and insisted he was fine where he was. Mike left the army jacket behind and with a solemn promise. "I won't forget this, Hank. I swear to you I won't forget." 1 week later, Hank was huddled by his fire when he heard it. A rumble so deep and so loud, it shook the snow from the underside of the overpass. He looked up and felt his heart skip a beat. Motorcycles, more than he could possibly count. They were filling the street above the overpass, and their engines roaring like thunder, their headlights cutting through the grey winter afternoon like searchlights. He counted 50, then 100, then gave up. There had to be at least 200 of them, maybe more. Mike "Hammer" Harrison walked down the embankment toward him, but he wasn't alone. Behind him came dozens of bikers carrying boxes, bags, and what looked like official documents in folders, and behind them, parked on the street above, was something Hank couldn't quite comprehend. A moving truck with a real estate company logo on the side. "Hank Thompson," Mike said, his voice carrying across the frozen ground. "1 week ago, you gave me your only jacket when you had nothing else to give. You didn't know me. You didn't owe me anything, but you saved my life anyway." He gestured to the convoy behind him. "I told my brothers what you did, how a homeless veteran, a man who served his country and was forgotten by everyone, still had enough goodness in his heart to save a stranger, and we decided that a man like that doesn't deserve to spend another night under a bridge." He handed Hank a set of keys and a folder full of papers. "This is the deed to a house, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, small backyard. It's about 20 minutes from here, in a quiet neighborhood. It's paid off, it's yours, and there's more." Another biker stepped forward with an envelope. "This is enough money to cover utilities, food, and anything else you need for the next 2 years. And this." Robert pulled out a card. "Here's my personal number. If you ever need anything, day or night, you call, because you're not homeless anymore. Hank, your family. And family takes care of its own." Hank stood there in the falling snow, tears freezing on his weathered cheeks, unable to speak. In his hand were the keys to a home he never thought he would have again. Mike put a hand on his shoulder. "You told me about the man who carried you through the rice paddy. You said you've been trying to pay that debt ever since. Well, consider it paid, brother. You saved my life. Now, let us give you yours back." Hank finally found his voice. I don't know what to say. I don't deserve this." Mike smiled. "You gave away your only jacket in the middle of winter to save a stranger. If that's not deserving, I don't know what is. And before we end, we have one special request for you. Comment below with the words 'debt paid' to show that you stand with Hank and every veteran who served their country, only to be forgotten by it. Because you know sometimes, the folks who seem to have the very least and are the very one who are willing to give the most. And isn't it funny how the world, or the universe, it has a way of leveling the playing field, or turning the tables, and returning that kindness tenfold. You see, generosity, a kind heart, it's never truly wasted. It's like planting a seed. It just takes a little time, sometimes a long time, for it to bloom and finally find its way back home to you and everyone around you, creating a beautiful garden of goodwill. So never underestimate the power of a simple act of kindness. It can change everything.